Good afternoon, traders. It's Monday, April 6th. Quite a quiet day for the market. No surprise, really. It's been kind of wild lately, so a little bit of consolidation is not a unexpected thing. And as George said in the room, we just kind of got to wait to see which way it's going to go. It's going to have to tell us. So, how you doing, George? How was your day?
Doing all right. It was an okay day. Nothing terribly profitable. How about you?
More coding for me.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, today was also, they had the European holiday, so it was their Easter. So no wonder we had such low volume and kind of conviction today. So we'll start here, though. Nevertheless, the market still gave targets and still achieved a couple here and there. We didn't do Fridays. We didn't do a recap Friday, folks, because the market was basically closed basically before it opened. So we'll just stick with that. But here we are, Monday. So we'll start here with the ES. I'll zoom out a little bit. And of course, just from this glance here, we can all see really exactly what Bob was saying. It just went sideways for the most part. So there's not going to be a whole lot to discuss here. So we'll go back to the pre-market. So in the pre-market, before the market had opened, I had posted that in a bigger picture concept, we really had a couple things that were out in front of us that had the highest level of weight and decision making and so forth. So over here on the ES, we had 6601 was a has to hold that was set up to the downside. So in the event that we started, kind of made any kind of significant drop, then this really needed to hold in order for the upside targets up here, starting right around 66, 64. So nevertheless, here's our 920 bar right here. So 920 starts, and Bob, you can back me up on this. We basically did nothing. Everybody just sat there on their hands because the market really did need to do something to instate, like, we have some kind of direction as far as what's going to happen next. So we sat here for a bit. 930 started. And then as we started to make a climb, I gave this hurdle. Let me reduce my box down because I forget when I posted it. Here we go. So right at 930, so right at open, I went ahead and posted. I said, if we go to the upside, perfectly fine, but they've got a hurdle up here at 51.5. So they were going to have to or push through that in order to get any higher. And then they wicked it pretty hard. So here at 10:05, you guys can all see this. They wicked that thing really hard, but nevertheless, they simply didn't close above it. And that's one of those things in the market. You really got to wait for the bodies of the candles. And then it will depend sometimes, is it one body? Is it two? Like how far? But we give that information in the room to kind of help guide people that, yes, we technically got to push through it, but guys, don't be fooled by that. We talk about stuff like that frequently in the room. So they did wick through it. And then after that, it was basically up to the decision point back on the downside. So still about 30 or 20 points, but it's down here at 32.5. And that's about the time I drew the box. And it was really, that was the point of really the rest of the day, is that they're going to have to decide here on the ES whether or not we get above the 51.5 or get back below the 32.5. And they did sort of the same deal. Wicked it a few different times, came back to the 51 and so forth, and just repeated for the most part. So that's it, folks. There's not a lot else on the ES today because, as you can see, they really never made that decision. If you just draw your lines straight across, yeah, they went a little above and yeah, they went a little below, but ultimately they never really picked up. So, as a matter of fact, I'll even double down on this just for a second because there's not a lot to cover. This was a pretty good example of a day, though, for people to really get their heads wrapped around the idea of buy low, sell high. And it's not to say that we're hitting the absolute bottom of the market or that we're heading the absolute top of the market. I mean, you can look back and realize that we had nothing called to short the market up here at, 61. That's fine. It never really closed up there, body wise anyway. But this box was really the reference, is that if you're even considering buying, you need to be closer in relationship to this 32.5. And you can see that risk wise, it was actually a pretty good day. I took a couple trades off the 32.5 long because the market was really showing that it was going up more than it was coming down. But I was just taking short profits at like the POC and the 45, which we had laid out kind of verbally throughout the day. So that was that. All right. NQ. I didn't draw any boxes. This one was a little interesting in that they had actually achieved some targets on the NQ, and they had done so with inside of a scenario from the pre-market. So you guys can look back. I wasn't awake. I wasn't actually trading at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I went back, and as I will often do, if I can see that the market is clearly, without a doubt, it's inside of some sort of scenario, it's important to understand, like, has the market gotten to target, target 1, 2, rubber band target 3, or, are we coming back into some other cycle? So I went and post dated it and said, look here, we already got to target 1 about 5 o'clock in the morning. And as I'm starting to open the room here, same thing, right around 9:20, we were stuck in the middle. We had a has to hold below us down here at 234, and we had a decision point just above us right around 326. So here at 9:20, once again, it's not worth doing anything because you're sort of in the middle. It can go either direction. So what do we do in the room? What are we waiting for? We're waiting for it to get closer to the bigger key levels. I'd much rather buy low, closer to that has to hold, or sell high, which in this case, you really had to draw. I didn't do it in the room for anybody, but you had to draw a box basically between where the has to hold was and the whole series of targets that we had posted from the pre-market. So this is really what we were working with. I said, we got to get back above here. So if you look in closely enough, it's not that hard to see. What did the market do? Of course, 9:30 shoots above it by quite a lot, comes back, retests, doesn't even get to the has to hold. And then right here at 9:50, after it closed back above it, retested perfectly to the tick, the decision point, and then shot up right to targets 1 and targets 2 from, again, we're talking hours beforehand. So that was that. And then it came in within just really, really close. I reposted it has to hold. Actually, I shifted it. That's right. So the second attempt down, it changed the NQ just a little bit because they then gave another series of targets kind of layered in to this other one. And they were eerily close. If you look right here and kind of line those up, they were pretty close to each other. So I thought that was fascinating this morning, just slightly off. But either way, the second attempt back down here after 10 o'clock, I'd said that, this has to hold was good for this morning. Do not attempt to use that again for later. They've moved it, which they then came down at right about 10:50 and of course 11:35, 11:40. Got that has to hold. So this was my only NQ trade for the day. I finally got within the has to hold range, and so same deal. Took short profit back to the POC, and that was my NQ day. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, short and sweet. We're trying out some new hardware, so I just got a little notification that some of the frames are being dropped. So if today's a little choppy, we apologize. We'll continue to work that out. But I was listening on my iPad. I think it still got the point across, but definitely dropping a couple frames here and there. So as always, go ahead and click on a couple of the links down below. We have a free Discord community. Come on over and join that. Doesn't cost anything to do that. Same with our 7-day free trial with the room, and it gives you an hour of training with Mr. Bubbles, aka George. And then we also have a free training course that describes a lot of the stuff you just heard George talking about.
Yeah, the free training course is vital because you can either do that for free, review all that, go back, watch several of these YouTube videos, and what you'll find is we're projecting out sometimes days in advance. So you just need to know how to actually get into that trade with a pretty high conviction and a fairly low risk tolerance. So that's what we're working on.
Sounds like a plan. Appreciate your time, George, and we'll see everybody in the morning.